These gymnosperms, they have true roots, stem and leaves like other angiosperms and pteridophytes as well. Will further undergo meiosis to produce the male gametes, that is the pollen grain. It will produce the pollen grain. What is there in the megasporangium? In the megasporangium, the archegonia is there. In the archegonia, the egg cell will be produced. Hello everyone, a warm welcome to this session on First PUC Biology. I am Dr. Divya, Biology Faculty, Vidhyaashram Pre-University College, Temple of Excellence, Mysore. So in this session, let us talk about a small topic, gymnosperms, under chapter 3, that is plant kingdom. So we'll learn the general characteristics of gymnosperms and then move into learning about some of the MCQs under this particular topic. So gymnosperms are those plants which bear the naked seed. So therefore, they have been named as gymnosperms. So here gymno means naked and sperma means seeds. So here the ovules that are there. So we all know that in the case of angiosperms, in the gynoecium there is presence of the ovary. Inside the ovary there is presence of ovules, and those ovules are the ones inside which the egg will be there. The egg cell fertilizes with the male gamete to form the seeds, right? So therefore the seeds will be enclosed within the ovary. Around the seed there will be ovary present. But in the case of gymnosperms, the ovules are free. They are not covered by an ovary wall. So therefore, or we can say they are not enclosed by any ovary wall. Therefore, they remain exposed. So that is why they are called as naked seeds, because they don't have any covering around them. Both before fertilization also they are not inside the ovule, nor after fertilization also they are not covered by any ovary wall. So that is why. And talking about their size, they can be of varying sizes ranging from medium sized trees like we have pinus, cycas and all are medium sized trees to tall trees and shrubs. So tallest trees is the giant redwood tree, which is called as the sequoia tree. So sequoia tree is the tallest gymnosperm tree to be standing on the planet today, and one of the oldest, tallest sequoia trees found in one of the national parks. And there are some national parks who have dedicated themselves to grow and safeguard these particular giant gymnosperm trees. So this is about their body structure. Next talking about, or this is about their size. So the next talking about the plant body. So these gymnosperms, they have true roots, stem and leaves like other angiosperms and pteridophytes as well. So their root is nothing but taproot, wherein the taproot has the fungi mycorrhiza in it. So they have a mycorrhizal association. So this mycorrhiza fungi that is there, it will help the gymnosperm plants, especially pinus. So pinus, which is an example for a gymnosperm, it actually the roots of pinus, which is a taproot, it actually harbors mycorrhizal fungi, wherein because of the presence of these fungi, the plants are capable of absorbing more amount of nutrients very easily from the soil. And not just that, in cycas, which is also an example for gymnosperm, the roots are called as coralloid roots. So they have some specialized roots called coralloid roots, and in this coralloid roots there is the cyanobacteria. So cyanobacteria, we have learnt about them in the previous session, right, under kingdom Monera, right? Under kingdom Monera there is one group class which is called as eubacteria. Under eubacteria the cyanobacteria comes, and the cyanobacteria is also called as a blue-green algae, and they are present in the coralloid roots of cycas, wherein they help the cycas to fix, that is in nitrogen fixing. And the stem, looking at the stem of gymnosperms, the stem can be unbranched in the case of cycas, or it can be branched in the case of pinus and cedrus. So you can have a look at this image wherein this is cycas. Can you see? It just looks like a coconut tree where the stem is unbranched, no branching, just one main mother stem, and next we have the foliage there. But in the case of pinus or there is cedrus, in that there are lots of branching that is found in the tree. Next, talking about the leaves can be simple or it can be compound pinnate leaves. For example, simple leaves in the case of Pinus, compound leaves in the case of Cycas. So here if you can see, this is a compound leaf. This is a Cycas leaf. It is compound wherein it is pinnately compound. So pinnately compound means we'll have a rachis or a midrib here like this. It's called as a rachis, and in that main petiole we find the leaves which are arranged like the small. It is called as leaflets. So they are called leaflets. So this kind of arrangement is called as pinnately compound. Simple leaves means the normal leaves that you find. They are very simple. Or we can take the example of ginkgo. Ginkgo biloba is an example for a gymnosperm wherein it will have one petiole and it will have leaf like this. This is a simple leaf. Now I hope you have understood what a simple leaf and a compound leaf is. So, and also the leaf can be needle-like, that is in Pinus. So Pinus, can you see here, the leaves are needle-like, and this is one of the very good adaptation of gymnosperm leaves. Why? Because if the leaves are needle-like, the surface area is less. So when the surface area is less, lesser number of stomata. So when lesser number of stomata means the loss of water is also less during unfavorable condition. And not just that, because the leaves are needle-like, whenever the snow falls on the pine trees, the snow will not stay. Because if it is a larger leaf, what happens? The snow can stay on the leaf and it can rot the leaf, right? But because the leaves are needle-like, the snow can just slip off from the leaves and fall to the ground. Therefore, the leaves are protected. And not just that, the leaves of these gymnosperms, they are thick and leathery. Why? Because they have very thick cuticle and they have sunken stomata, again to prevent excessive loss of moisture whenever the less rainfall or high temperature and all that. So this is some of the adaptations of gymnosperm leaves. So this can be asked in the exam. Write any two adaptations of gymnosperm leaves. So these are the adaptations. And next, talking about the reproduction. So these gymnosperms, they are usually heterosporous. Hetero meaning different. So it means they produce different types of spores wherein they produce a set of large spores and a set of small spores. So they can produce haploid, microspores and megaspores. And we know that microspores will germinate to form the male gametophyte and megaspores will germinate to form the female gametophyte. And the spores, where are they produced? It is just like pteridophytes, okay? Here also, where are the spores produced? The spores are produced in special structures which are called as sporangia. What is the sporangia? Sporangia is nothing but wherein all the sporophylls that are there, can you see here the sporophylls or leaf-like structures? They just come together and they form a compact structure which is cone-like, and it is called as the sporangia. They can be also called as the strobili or cones. So this is nothing but the sporangia. You can call it as a sporangia or you can call it as strobili or you can also call it as the cone. So these are the reproductive structures, and also talking about the microspore development and the megaspore development. Why? Because we need to know about the male and the female gametophyte respectively. So microspore development, now we understood that all the sporophylls, they become compactly arranged to form the strobili or cones. So in this strobili or cone, what is produced? The strobili or cone are nothing but sporangia. So what is produced in that? The microspores and the megaspores. So now what happens to the microspore and the megaspore? Let's look into. So the strobili bearing the microsporophylls. So that part of the strobili that bears the microspores are present in microsporophylls. So microsporophylls form compact structures to produce a male cone that produces, or male strobili that produces microspores. So remember that. And microsporangia are called as microsporangiate or male strobili. So what is there in the male strobili? Microsporophylls are there. These microsporophylls form compact structures which are called as the male strobili or microsporangia, and these microsporangia produces the microspores. So now it is understood. So what happens to these microspores? Now these microspores develop into a male gametophyte, and this male gametophyte will further undergo meiosis to produce the male gametes, that is the pollen grain. It will produce the pollen grain. There in pteridophytes, what it used to produce? It produces anthrazoids. That anthrazoids, it produces antheridia. That antheridia will produce the anthrazoids. But in this case, the strobili or the male strobile or a male cone or the microsporangia, it will produce the pollen grain. It will produce the male gametophyte. That male gametophyte is nothing but the pollen grain. So therefore, it will produce the pollen grain. And the development of the pollen grain always takes place within the microsporangia. Already explained to you, it is understood. Next, talking about the megasporangia. So here, the megasporophylls come together, form a compact cone-like structure, and that cone is nothing but it is called as the megasporangiate, or it is called as the female cone or the female strobili. Now this female cone or female strobili, it will contain some megaspore mother cell. These megaspore mother cells they undergo meiosis, or they become differentiated from one of the cells of the nucellus. So nucellus, what is this nucellus? Is nothing but in the ovule of gymnosperms, there is the presence of the ovary, right? Or in the ovary, there is presence of some tissues which are called as nucellus. That nucellus actually serves as a nutritive tissue wherein it provides nutrition to the developing ovules. So here, some of the cells of the megaspore mother cells, they get differentiated to form the nucellus, okay? And what will happen to the remaining cells? The remaining cells will get differentiated to form the megaspores or to form 4 megaspores. So now it is understood. So how we can understand this? So in the megasporangia, there is the megaspore mother cell. Some of the cells of the megaspore mother cells undergo differentiation to form the nucellus, which serves as a nutritive tissue to the megaspores. And some of the the remaining megaspore mother cells that is there, they get differentiated or they undergo meiosis to produce 4 megaspores. It is understood. Now, after the formation of 4 megaspores, what happens? Let's look into. So, one of the megaspore that is there, which is present within the megasporangium, it will develop into a female gametophyte, and that female gametophyte is multicellular. And in that female gametophyte, what is there? It will contain the archegonia, or it will have the female sex organ. Now, this multicellular female sex organ or the archegonia or the female gametophyte, it will be retained within the megasporangium. So, now what is there in the megasporangium? In the megasporangium, the archegonia is there. In the archegonia, the egg cell will be produced. So, this is about the megaspore development. One of the megaspores I told you that will, so from where did the megaspore come? So, the megaspores produced from the nucellus, right? Some of the cells of the nucellus, they formed 4 megaspores. In that, one megaspore will take part in the fertilization process. So, let's learn about the fertilization. Now, here the pollen grain which was produced by the microsporangium, that is the male gametophyte, it will release the pollen grain. These pollen grains will be carried by the air currents and they will come near the opening of the ovules. Where are the ovules present? In the megasporophyll, right? So, they will come towards the megasporophyll. They will come to the mouth of the ovule. So, ovule will somewhat look like this in the megasporophyll, okay? This is the ovule. So, they will come to the ovule. In the ovule, what is there? The archegonia is there. Archegonia. So, in the archegonia, egg will be produced. Egg. So, the pollen grain which is there, it will, in the pollen grain, we all know that pollen grain has 2 cells. That is, one is the vegetative cell, and the other one is the generative cell. This generative cell produces the male gamete where it will germinate, it will produce the pollen tube, it will germinate to produce the pollen tube. The male gamete that is there, it will enter through the pollen tube and it will come and fuse with the egg. Now, after fusing with the egg, what will happen? It will develop into a zygote, diploid zygote, and the zygote will develop into an embryo, and the embryo will form the seeds, and these seeds are not covered. So, therefore, they are naked. So, this is how the gymnosperm seeds look. Can you see here? They are not covered, they are naked. So, that is why gymnosperms are called as the naked seeds. So, this was about the fertilization process. It's almost similar to angiosperms. Only thing is, there is a difference in the structure of the ovule or the naming that is given to each of the reproductive structure is different here. That is the only difference, but mechanism and all that is almost one and the same. So this is about the fertilization in the case of gymnosperms. So we know that the male gametophyte or the Microsporangia, it produces the microspores. In that microspores will develop into the male gametophyte, that is the pollen grain, and in the pollen grain the generative cells will produce the male gamete. So much you have to remember. That is about the male reproductive structures in the case of gymnosperms. Now talking about the female reproductive structure, the female reproductive structure, that is the megasporophylls, will form the megasporangia. In that megasporangia, megaspore mother cells are there. Some of the megaspore mother cells will produce the spores. So 4 spores will be produced, 4 megaspores. In that, one of the megaspore that is there, it will form or it will develop into the female gametophyte, wherein archegonia will be produced, where inside the ovule itself archegonia will be produced. So in that archegonia, egg will be produced. Now the male gametophyte, which is the pollen grain, that will be released. It will be carried by the air and it will come near the mouth of the ovule, wherein once it reaches the mouth of the ovule, it will germinate and it will produce a pollen tube. And through the pollen tube, one of the male gamete will move through the pollen tube. It will reach one of the archegonia cell, and in the archegonia cell, that egg, what is there, haploid egg, it will fuse with that and it will form the seeds. So that is how that seeds again will develop into a gymnosperm plant. So that is how the life cycle of gymnosperm takes place. So this is about gymnosperm fertilization. Next, we'll learn about some of the MCQs under this. So dash is the tallest tree species. So here the question is, dash is the tallest tree species. Is it cycas, sequoia, pinus or ginkgo? So cycas, no, they come under gymnosperms, but it is not the tallest. It is sequoia. So sometimes they can change the answers to cycas, redwood tree, pinus, ginkgo. So you can choose redwood because sequoia is also called as redwood tree. So remember that. Next, the specialized roots in cycas that have cyanobacteria in them. That is nothing but, or they can ask, the specialized roots in cycas that have blue-green algae in them. Or the question can be framed like this: the specialized root in cycas that help in fixing nitrogen are called. So what are they? They are called as coralloid roots, because rhizoids, no, rhizoids are found in bryophytes, so it's not rhizoids. Is it prop roots? No, prop roots you find it in banyan tree, in angiosperm, so it is not prop roots. Is it root nodules? No, because root nodules also you find it in angiosperms, especially leguminous plants, that is beans, chickpea, cowpea and all that. So therefore the answer here is coralloid root. And I've also told you how in 3 ways the question can be formed here. And also related to this, the question can be asked, the specialized roots in cycas or dash bears mycorrhiza in their roots. So it is pinus, because pinus, they have roots which harbors mycorrhiza fungi in them. So like that also question can be framed. Next, plants that have naked seeds but no flowers or fruits, they come under, is it algae, is it bryophytes, pteridophytes or gymnosperms? No, algae, because they don't produce seed at all, they produce spores, and bryophytes also don't produce seeds, and pteridophytes neither they produce seeds. Therefore, the right answer here is gymnosperms. So, gymnosperms produces seeds. Next, megasporophyll is the term used in gymnosperm to denote. Is it carpels? No, carpels, they come under angiosperm. Stamens, it is a male reproductive structure in angiosperm. Leaves, they don't participate in the reproduction. Of course, leaves, they are nothing but they bear the spores, but we need to use a particular term here. So therefore, it is a female cone, because these megasporophylls, they form compact structures, and I also told you mega means it is something related to the female. So it is called female cone. And microsporophyll is the term used in gymnosperm to denote, it will be the male cone. So like that. Or the answer can be given as female strobili, male strobili, because cones are also called as strobili. So like that, based on these questions, some of the MCQs can again be framed under this particular topic. So this was about session wherein we learnt about gymnosperms, its general characteristics, and also we came to know how exactly the reproductive structures, what are they called, and how the fertilization occurs and all that, and why they are called the naked seeds also we got to know. And also we know some of the MCQs under this particular topic now. So I hope you understood this session. So we shall meet again in the next session. Thank you.